by Twitch. I'm Golden alongside Darkman, Blecky, Spike Vegeta, and Fiesel will be joining us in just a few minutes here. We're going to give you a very brief glimpse into Awesome Games Done Quick 2016. We've got about 30 minutes to cover a full week's worth of content. Obviously, the marathon benefiting the Prevent Cancer Foundation, and your donations will go in that direction. So please consider donating throughout the week, and use the hashtag HDQ2016 when you're talking about us, and we'll try to catch you for some questions later on as we have interviews with runners throughout the week. So keep that in mind. Gentlemen, welcome aboard here. Our day one is jam-packed with games, and one of those games, Super Mario 64, we're seeing the rematch from Summer Games Done Quick. Talk a little bit about why we're seeing that, Spike.
To this day, Super Mario 64 is still, if you're trying to just sell someone on the idea of speedrunning, that's the game I'm going to show them. It's got the perfect balance of tons of really complicated movement tech, but everybody's played it. Everybody can relate to it. It still blows people. People can't do triple jumps when they're playing this game casually, so watching people move Mario around like a ninja is still insane. What kind of held this game back from being in past GDQs, really getting frequent exposure, was that there was such a gap between Siglemic and the next runners that we could get there. Now all of a sudden, you don't have that problem anymore. You have the top three runners here, Puncation, Cheese, and Simply, all showing up. These are all runners who have achieved times that we never thought were possible. Seeing them in this race environment, GDQs can't help but make that a rematch from SGDQ. It's, you know what, and I love it. Day one, we're throwing Super Mario 64 at you. I love the confidence that the Games Committee showed in throwing this up day one. We are so packed. We got a lot of bullets left in the gun after this game's already been shown.
Yeah, and you brought up the runners. Let's talk a little bit about them in more detail. Darkman, I know you've done your homework on these guys.
Sure, yeah. So first off, let's start off with Puncation. I mean, he's the one that won the race at SGDQ, and he currently has the fastest time. So he has 140, and but not to be outdone is Cheese 05. So he and Puncation have kind of been trading the world record since SGDQ back and forth. So he's just right behind him. He came in second place at SGDQ, so look for him to give a big scare to Puncation. But don't overlook Simply. So he's the third place guy, and he may be a little bit back in terms of a PB, but he just recently got a new personal best, and he's hungry. He got a third place at SGDQ, so he's ready to show the world that he means business, and he's ready to take the first.
All right, I want to get your predictions very quickly on this topic before we move on. Who do we have in the race? We'll start with Blecky.
You know, I'm going to go with Cheese. He previously did take second place in SGDQ, so I think he's going to really be out for blood there. And Puncation really recently took his record away, so I think he wants vengeance this time around.
Looking for vengeance. Darkman, who do you have?
Don't sleep on Simply. I mean, the guy's got in third place. You know, people may say, oh, you know, he's not going to come in first place, but no, he's hungry. He's ready to prove everybody wrong.
All right, Spike Vegeta.
Okay, I respect Simply's 141. Like, that's still an insane time, but you got to go with Puncation here. I'm sorry. He is the world record holder, and more so than the world record, because he didn't have it at SGDQ, and I still liked him in that race. Puncation has been around the longest at this high a level playing, and he's just pulled through in the clutch moments. You can see it just watching his stream compared to a lot of other people. He's the best SM64 player in the world. He's taking the race tonight.
Yeah, and again, we talked about this earlier, but the idea of your average run time really meaning more than your personal best, so any one of these guys could take it in that one race. Let's go ahead and move on, though. One of the things that's very exciting about this AGDQ is the indie block, and it's really, block might not be the right word, it's a lot more than a block.
Tuesday.
Yeah, it's all of Tuesday. Blecky, tell us a little bit more about that.
So, I mean, I just love indie games, and I'm so excited to see that for the first time, they're going to be getting a dedicated block in the marathon. In the past, we've kind of had them scattered throughout the schedule, but never concentrated quite like this. Now, what I really love about them is that they are able to kind of adapt and imitate the look and feel of really any generation of gaming. And that's going to be shown off in the selection we have here for you. I mean, you've got games like Hero Core, which is a 2D shooter, and on first glance, you'd think that this was a game from, you know, the Atari era. But after you see it for a bit, you'll see that it was actually able to kind of introduce a lot of really new and innovative ideas to keep the game fresh. You've got Fez, which is a 2D platformer that was very highly anticipated and was able to kind of, in the game, you're able to kind of shift the dimensions of the game so that you can actually change the camera angle while still being able to keep stay strict to the 2D kind of guidelines. You've got Snapshot, which is a 2D puzzle platformer which is able to incorporate the mouse and adds a lot of movement tech there. And then you've got some indie games with a more modern feel, such as Cloud Build, which is a third-person shooter which with a tremendous movement tech. I mean, you're going to be watching that runner and just watching the player just kind of fly around in the levels. It's really, really impressive. And then also, for example, A Hat in Time, which is still in the beta phase, but it's a really, really cool 3D collectathon. Now, what I really, really love about indie games, and this is becoming increasingly true with time, is that the developers are becoming more and more interested in kind of hearing out the community and seeing what they think from especially the players that play their games the most. And I mean, who is a better candidate for that than speedrunners, who really have to kind of play these games ad nauseum in order to practice and get ready for their run?
It really, I 100% agree with you. It's the cutest couple of HEDQ 2016. I'm calling it right now. Indie developers and speedrunners. Because you know what? If as an artist, I'm not saying myself, but as an artist, you are honored when you see someone cares as much about your product as speedrunners do to their indie games. Like, you thought you would not be able to reach this kind of audience. You see at people I've talked to who go to PAX Prime, PAX East, that they talk to these indie developers and think maybe there's some sort of, I don't like you breaking my games. Not at all. They're so into it. They love that you're delving that deep into it. One story, you've got Ori and the Blind Forest, the second run of the indie block, Monday night. Please make sure you show up to see that. Great game, great speed game, but one day, a couple of months after the run comes out, they throw out a patch for the game. And it actually patched out a trick that they needed in order to, obviously do some sequence breaking in the game. The speedrunners complained about it. One developer took 48 hours and meticulously unpatched the patch just so we could get our trick back. That shows the kind of relationship that is developing between indie developers and speedrunners. You see it in the mystery tournaments all the time. We're having more and more audio or indie developer commentary. It's a joy to watch.
Yeah, you brought up Ori and the Blind Forest as an example too, and Blecky, you've already gone through some examples, but there are so many games in this indie block. Do you guys have additional games that you're excited about? Darkman, I know you have one that you're...
Sure, I'm going to spend a little bit on Blecky's Cloud Build. So Cloud Build is the very definition of speedrunning. I mean, you're talking about going from point A to point B, you have some monsters to dodge along the way, and you have a little jet-propelled rocket booster there. It's going to go really fast. The great thing about it is the game is very simple in design, but that simplicity allows you to find unintended skips and really hard tricks to pull off. It's going to be an incredibly fast-paced watch. I mean, if you even blink an eye, you're just going to miss the action. So a really intense race should be really fun.
All right, Blecky, give me another game. I know you've already exhausted some.
You only get one.
Well, no,
only
I
get to
got
pick
one
one
more
now.
on top of that. So I'm going to talk about Velocity 2X. Now, this is a game that's built around auto-scrollers, which is a mechanic that normally is the bane of speedrunning, because these are screens which kind of scroll at a fixed rate. But in Velocity 2X, you can actually speed up the rate of the auto-scroller, so to the point that it actually becomes a challenge to keep up with. That's not something you usually see in these games. And that on top of the very, very cool platforming with a teleportation mechanic really makes it a must-watch in my eyes.
All right, and Spike, you already brought up Ori. I guess one more game that I would point out too is Kuro Blaster. It's probably the lesser-known cousin or sibling of Cave Story. So if you haven't seen that game, you're a fan of Cave Story or games like that, you'll enjoy that. I do want to, at this time, announce that we're going to swap out here, bring in Fiesel here for some other topics. So Spike's going to step out. We're going to talk a little bit about Mario Maker while that's going on. And guys, there are a potential for a double dose of Mario Maker this time around, and people are excited about that. What is the situation with Mario Maker?
Sure. So the first part of the race, I mean, people, when they see Mario Maker on the schedule, they're like, oh, it's going to be another expert 100-man challenge. No, this is far from that. So our first part is going to be, it kind of introduced to a lot of the viewers something that is very near and dear to the speedrunners' hearts, and that's blind racing. So what's going to happen is you're going to have a bunch of runners, and they are going to be playing maps specifically designed for this event. And they have never seen these levels before. So when we say blind racing, we talk about playing a game you're unfamiliar with, playing a level you're unfamiliar with. You've never seen it before. So it kind of introduces a different element of skill into it, because normally when you have these runners, they come up to the marathon, they practice this game for hours and hours. Well, this time they have no idea what they're going to face. So it they have to think on their toes, kind of think differently than what they're used to. So you're going to see some interesting fun. I mean, you're not going to see them in their element. It's going to be uncomfortable maybe at times, but it's going to be fun. They're going to enjoy it, and you're going to have fun.
Yeah, and the way that it's structured too is really going to cater to just a fun atmosphere. We're talking about 2 teams of 4 people that you're familiar with at home. And then the level creators themselves are here as well, and it's really just going to be an opportunity to kind of interact with all of them, have the level creators shocked by how the players perform on their stages. So that is already on the schedule, but there's also an opportunity to bring in some rehearsed stages as well, some very difficult stages. Lucky, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's going to be a donation incentive, and if that donation incentive is met, then we are going to have 2 teams of 2 players come in and play a set of very, very difficult levels. Unlike the first set of levels, these are going to actually have meticulously practiced. Now, these are levels that are publicly available and are very well known for being notoriously difficult. I mean, one of these levels is so hard that it had a Forbes article written about it. These are very, very hard levels. You might actually, if you check it out, you might be familiar with some that you'll be seeing. And it's going to be really, really cool. I can't wait to see just how these players are somehow able to beat these levels, which are just so insanely difficult. Another cool thing about it is that the players that will be playing that in that race will be the very same players who were watching, who created the first set of levels that will be played blind. So if they were maybe trash-talking those players as they were messing up, they better be ready to step up to the test this time around and show what they've got. So that's going to be really, really cool. But that is a donation incentive. And so what that means is if you guys want to see it, I mean, I want to see it, I know you want to see it. If you do want to see it, then we need your help to be able to make it met.
And with that, let's go ahead and talk about how you might do that at home with your donations. We'll go to the donation incentives with Fiesel. You've got some examples for us.
Sure, yeah. So in addition to your donations helping a good cause, you also get to provide your input on what happens in the marathon by putting your donation towards one of the incentives that we have available. There's lots of good examples. For example, the blindfolded turbo tunnel in Battletoads should be pretty interesting. We've got hardcore difficulty in Super Time Force Ultra. Super Mario 64 multiplayer is an option as well. DLC for Portal 2. And of course, there's the bidding wars. There's a lot of games where you can bid on your choice of character. You can choose between Devil May Cry 3 and 4 Special Edition, or between Pacifist and any % in EG. And what may end up being the biggest bidding wars of all is going to be the file name and character name bidding wars for the various games that we have. In particular, I think Secret of Mana and our finale game, Final Fantasy IV, is going to have some big donations thrown that way. So my advice is, if you've got a name in mind for any of these, I mean, the RPG bidding wars often bring in the most money of all this stuff. So if you've got a name in mind for any of these, just get your name in there early, donate early, and start to build some momentum up, and don't wait till the last minute. So to see a list of all the donations and all the prizes and all that stuff and incentives, you should go to the GamesDoneQuick.com website to check that out.
And speaking of the prizes here, we actually have on stage with us some of the prizes that you could win at home. This is just a small set of the prizes that we'll be offering throughout the marathon. I'm going to have these 2 gentlemen here, Darkman and Blecky, point out some of them to you now.
Sure, so we have some of the really cool ones. So we got a cool little Slippy artwork over here. It's really neat. Got a nice little Skyward Sword plushie. Have this awesome Legend of Zelda compendium. So this artwork is designed by one of the people in the community, Carrie Fry, so really cool. And not to be outdone, but one of the first prizes you can win is right here, a little Splatoon Inkling hat. So first run of the day, you can win that.
Yeah. You've got another Splatoon hat right here, another book by Carrie Fry here. These are very artsy books, which are really cool to check out. A Shovel Knight plushie. We've got a mouse pad donated by Mad Cats. This Nintendo 3DS is with the Majora's Mask logo on it, is one of the bigger prizes of the marathon. It's available throughout the entire marathon if you donate a cumulative $50. One of the coolest prizes of this marathon as well, which is also available throughout, is a full pinball table. A full pinball table of the game No Fear, donated by Pinball Joe. That is a really, really cool, generous prize. And again, if you donate a cumulative $75 throughout the marathon, you'll become eligible for that. On the topic of pinball, we actually just outside the speed room have a few pinball tables set up that he was able to provide for us. And people on site are going to be enjoying those tables throughout the full marathon. Last year, I remember the full week, it was really rare to see kind of one of those tables open. So that's become a recent hit to the marathon, and is really a fun little bonus if you attend one of these.
Yeah, and in addition to that, that is being live streamed at twitch.tv/pinballjoe, and it's really kind of a glimpse into the marathon that you don't get normally at home. You know, if you're not here, you don't really realize what goes on outside the marathon room, but it'll give you a chance to kind of see a different element of the marathon as well. So.
And these here and what we just mentioned are just a small sample of the prizes during the marathon. So if you want to check out a full list of the prizes available and when you can donate to win them, check out Games Done Quick, and there will be a full list there.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about bonus games too, because that's one more way to influence the marathon. There are some games that aren't even in the marathon yet, but could be. And with your donations, we can add them in. Each of you has picked out one that you think is particularly interesting, and they're going to attempt to sell you on the idea of donating towards it. So, Darkman, go ahead.
Sure. I'm going to start off with Final Fantasy 1. And you just look on the schedule, and it says estimate 10 minutes. And you're like, wait, Final Fantasy game, 10 minutes? What's going on? Yeah, that's basically the reaction you're going to have. It has an incredibly wacky glitch that you'll have to see to believe. But unless you make those donations happen, you're not going to see it. So.
All right. And Blecky?
So Super Metroid is a very, very popular run in marathons, of course, and we will be seeing it towards the end of the marathon. But in addition to that run, we are actually going to have an incentive for a 2-player, 1-controller run. I mean, you heard me right. That's going to be 1 controller handled by, 1 player on the D-pad and 1 player on the action buttons. And somehow, some way, I've never seen it, somehow it happens, they're going to be able to complete the game in that way. Again, that is a donation incentive, so these are just some examples of what you need to put your money towards if you want to see them.
Yeah, I can't even wall jump when I get the controller
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
hand, so I don't know how they're going to do it with 2 players, but that's going to be some high level of coordination. Fiesel.
Oh man, I'm going to have to go with Super Mario Brothers 3, an old classic. I think after Mitch finishes Kaizo Mario 3 is when he would be doing this run if it gets donated for. And this is a game that Mitch has been working on for years, and you really get to see Mitch in his element here. And I think that's going to be very entertaining. And it'll be a nice relaxing run sandwiched in between Kaizo and Mario Maker, 2 really hard things. We get to see the any % run thrown in there.
Yeah, it'll be kind of the walk in the park in the middle of
Right.
the strenuous stages there. I want to also ask about some debut games because at AGDQ 2016 we're seeing some games for the first time. What is a game that we are seeing for the first time that you're excited about? We'll start with Darkman.
I'm going to start with a game that's near and dear to one of our hosts' hearts, and that's Rockman 4 Burst Chaser Cross Air Sliding. So it is a ROM hack of Rockman 4, which is also known as Mega Man 4 to most people. It's really cool because it has sped up gameplay, and it features a cool mechanic called air sliding. So of course you get to slide in the air. It features some intense and kind of different movement that you're not used to seeing in a Mega Man game. So it's a race, and it features 2 veteran runners in Golden right here and Garrison. So these guys are experienced; they know what to expect. So on top of that, the fact is the run is it could have some potentially forgiving deaths. So you should expect a very back and forth race. It should be really fun.
I like that you were earning teachers' pet points with that one. Blecky, do you have a favorite as well?
I'm going to go with Strider, and while not run by anyone on this panel, I know we're all big fans of it. This is a really, really crazy NES game. Strider was, I believe, launched on the arcade, but this is an NES port. And if you are familiar with it, it's a very, very strange, glitchy run just to play through normally. And a glitchless run is about 30 minutes, but this run itself is so glitchy that the runner will only visit 3 levels and complete it in less than 5 minutes. It's really insane. He's going to be going through walls, all kinds of nutsy things that you wouldn't expect to see. So if you love glitches, or you're not sure about glitches, but you want to kind of check out a really glitchy run, check that one out.
You will like it regardless of whether you like glitches or not. It's that wacky. Fiesel, you've got to pick as well.
Oh, I'm going to have to go with Simpsons arcade game. I think anyone who played arcade games in the 90s remembers this one. People just lining up to put their quarters in for this. And like so many games of that era, it was a real quarter eater, and it was intended for a group of 4 people to take multiple credits to clear it. But you're going to see Makina Azul make his way through this game solo in about 20 minutes, so that's going to be pretty impressive.
All right. I also want to move on and talk about how international the GDQs have become. It really is just an invite to players all around the world and to come and show their stuff. This is the second year that we've had a Japanese scene represented here. Ohon is returning to play more Mega Man, and Bekaret is making his debut with a very difficult platformer in Gimmick. I do not envy that run in any way, just because there's no way I would do it on stage, so more props to him for doing that. But there are additional powerhouses as well, and Fiesel, I know that you've got one in mind.
Oh yeah, the Sweden is always one of the most well-represented countries in speedrunning, and a bunch of runners here from there this time, in particular the Batman race, the four-way Batman race. It's going to have Bad Breaks, Infested Reach, and Dexter in it, so that'll be pretty entertaining to watch.
I mean, not to be outdone by Sweden, we have a just an amazing amount of people coming from Europe. I mean, we have people like Yagamoth, he's from Switzerland, running Secret of Mana. You have Green Link from the UK, running Azure Striker Gunvolt. You have Chris M. from Germany, running Super Mario Galaxy 1 and Super Mario 64 Co-op. You have another Sweden runner, Spiri X, he's running Battle Kid 2, Mountain of Torment, and also Styan, so he's from Norway, running Stepmania.
And then you have a couple Australian runners coming from just about as far away as you can get. And those two players are Barhunga and Aeon Frodo. And the story of Aeon Frodo is really interesting to me because the community actually came together and was able to get money together to be able to afford her travel costs and help to get her, because I mean, traveling from that far of a distance is, obviously a very, very costly effort. And I mean, something like that just really speaks to me about just how great the speedrunning community is, because we actually have a few other runners as well. I mean, Golden mentioned a couple of the Japanese runners. It was a marathon that was able to get them here. We have, there's been another marathon which helped several of the runners to get here. It's really, really cool that the speedrunning community can come together and make that happen.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's great that the whole community wants to be here. I want to talk a little bit about the run that we're about to see in Splatoon. To kick off the marathon. Darkman, do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so when people think Splatoon, they think, oh, that's a multiplayer game. What is that doing in a marathon? Well, believe it or not, there's actually an extensive single-player campaign to it. And not only that, you have the world record holder and Tones Balloons running it. And on top of that, there's a really cool skip that skips the entire chapter. So it should be really interesting to watch.
All right, and with that, we are done with the pregame show here. Please enjoy Awesome Games Done Quick 2016 and use the hashtag AGDQ 2016 all during the week, and we might feature your tweets. Let's throw it up to the front now. Cool Maddie is ready to go. Let's kick this thing off. Enjoy, everybody.
Okay, guys, welcome to Awesome Games Done Quick 2016. Change your calendars. Thanks, Golden, Darkman, Spike Vegeta, Fiesels, and Bletchy. We've got a long show here for you guys, but it's going to be great. We're starting off with Splatoon. I know you guys are excited for that. But I also want to give a shout out to our sponsors real quick. So we've got World 9 Gaming. They've been doing great, giving us all these consoles, and they've brought a ton of TVs for us, like practically literally a ton. We got Support Class. They did the layouts, which I'm sure you guys have already noticed have been amazing the past couple events. We got the Yeti. They've got a great shirt sale going on, theyeti.com/AGDQ. You got Tokyo Attack and MagFest. They're bringing in some amazing arcade machines. They're going to be here Monday night, Tuesday, around then. And then finally, we got Something Artistic. They're doing their usual artwork stuff. They are really great. Check it out again. And all right. And then I think after that, we just got Frank Ketz Foundation. You want to speak for a minute?
I want to thank everybody for their continued support of the foundation. We have been a partner in this since I think it was 50 people in Mike Yama's basement the first year. His mother, I'm sure, looking at 1,500 people, is happy not to have it in her house. Yes. So thank you all. In addition to funding research here in the U.S. and community programs across the U.S., we have now gone out globally. We are funding international research. We are funding technology transfers where we take individuals from low-income countries, take them to major institutes across the world, let them train with the best and take them back into their communities. And this year we actually funded a project in Rwanda that is the first cervical cancer screening program there. So thanks to you and your donations. Keep it up.
All right. Okay, guys, we're about ready to go. I just want to remind you, 100% of all donations go straight to PCF.
Correct.
And let's get a countdown. And believe it or not, we might actually start early this time.
All right.
All right.